mean, yeah, sure, I could have. And I could say you assaulted me. Because that's what having power is. Now why don't you go take a walk?
What? Can't you see I'm dealing with something? Oh, sorry, friend. I didn't realize you were one of us. Thanks for your concern. But yeah, looks like I'm stuck. The gall of this man to ask me for a diplomatic visa. You know we haven't needed to show one of these since we kicked their asses in the colony war? No, it's not. It's mighty kind of you to offer. But look, he knew I was a political envoy before I even landed. But you clearly are not going to get the same harassment I did. If you could go to the Freestar Collective Embassy and talk to one of the diplomats, I'm sure they could clear this up. Please, take these credits. I insist.
The Freestar Collective, a collective of snakes. The FC's no friend of you and me. Well, I want it torn down, of course. The fact that there's even an embassy for them here after what they did, it's infuriating. Tear it down. Tear it all down. Ridiculous. For what? Voicing my opinion? You sound like a typical Freestar snake. Leave me alone. What's my problem with them, really? I'm keeping the FC accountable for the terrible things they've done. The Colony War was an unforgivable tragedy. Countless lives could have been spared, but the Freestar Collective was out for blood. The Freestar Collective took my father away from me. Unbelievable. You're just like the rest of them. You refuse to take any responsibility. How can you live with yourselves? I'm sick of the FC's lies. How are the people of the UC supposed to get any closure? How am I going to get any justice for what happened to my father? I'm done talking to you. Get away from me. Uh-huh.
Cannon fodder's a bit of an exaggeration. I signed up for the position. No one forced it on me. I thought of serving the UC as a privilege. Well, thanks, boss. Just to ease your mind, I've got nothing against the Freestar Collective myself. I've spent quite a bit of time there. Serving the UC is just in my blood. I'm from a family of patriots.
We're continuing to see an increase in the strength and frequency of the vibrations. I don't know how much more significant it'll become. If there's no response, the tree may vibrate itself, and some nearby portion of the city, to destruction. Now, as of yet, there has been no response, and clearly none of the nearby individuals are a correct match. While it can't be ruled out that the intended recipient of these messages was cut down during the city's expansion, there is one other possibility. Over 100 years ago, the United Colonies and the Freestar Collective emerged from the Narian War. As a gesture of peace and goodwill, a near-literal olive branch, one of the trees from New Atlantis, was offered to the leaders of Akila City. The greatest tragedy of all is that the tree never stood a chance on Akila. Of course, you can't just uproot a native species and plunk it down on some other planet in a totally different environment and expect it to grow. Clearly, no exobotanists were consulted ahead of time. The end result was wholly predictable. The tree died within a few short years.
No, I'm from Neon. I moved here a couple months ago for a job at the Office of Interstellar Affairs. Yeah? Nice to know I'm not the only Freestar making my way in New Atlantis. Hopefully we'll see each other around.
Question 2. Coe's Day honors Solomon Coe, the founder of what city? Akila City, Neon, or Sedonia? Noted.
Now, let's talk business. Sarah tell you about the expedition? You a Freestar? I'm glad to be taking you back to the homestead. I had my fill of it when I was younger, but it always seems to pull us back in, doesn't it? The three of us are heading to Akila City. You know it. Capital of the Freestar Collective. We'll land in the city's spaceports, but the frontier's our goal. It's rough country. Spawned a lot of stories. And I got a lead on a tale that makes me think one thing. Artifact. I know, it's dangerous. That's why I needed backup for this one. But don't let the old children's tales about the Ashta get to you. The real thing is way worse. She stays with the ship, usually. Got a few more years to go before I let her swill whiskey in some backwater bar. There's something you should know up front. I'm a Coe. As in Solomon Coe, first man on Akila. That tale I mentioned before, the one I think is connected to an artifact, it's something of a family legend. After planetfall, Solomon spent years mapping Akila, and he found a tiny little patch of nothing on his sensors. The kind of nothing an artifact produces. He called it the Empty Nest. Said it was a place even the wildlife of Akila wouldn't go. Yeah, sorry. Thought you were just being polite, not mentioning it at all. A lot of people who don't know me assume my last name is Coe because the name's so damn popular in the Freestar Collective. Thanks to Solomon. Once they find out I'm part of the legacy, things get complicated. So I try not to advertise it.
That's so. Well, you found your way to the right person. Well, the Freestar Rangers ensure the safety and security of the Freestar Collective and its people. We might hunt down a fugitive, break up a smuggling operation, investigate a starship theft, or put some would-be bank robbers behind bars. Whatever needs doing to keep the people safe, we do. Me too. Probably half the kids in the Freestar Collective did. But like with most legends, the truth is usually a little less glamorous. I imagine you've got some questions. I'll answer anything I can.
We really gotta do this. Had to pull that one out, did you? Oh, it's all right. It's ancient history. So, Jacob raised me on his own, and shit, maybe I don't give him enough credit. I mean, I know how tough it is, but he was strict, hard. Dad was a longtime civil servant, a big man in government, and he had a future all laid out for me. Man, could he get his hooks into you. He was scary good at that. Exactly. If we wanted big bloated government, we'd head over to the UC. He was my dad, though, when I was a young pup. But I tried. I felt the weight of legacy. I wanted to do him proud. He said I had to learn the business, run some freight, see how credits flow, speak the language. Meanwhile, he's working some angle for a government job for me after. That sounded even more miserable than what I was doing. No, I'm careful about that. I mean, I try and not put down Lillian within earshot, which, well, isn't that hard, really. Lillian, she's an incredible woman, truly. But it is always, and I mean always, about the job. When sheep bleeds, Freestar colors spill out. Back when I was a ranger, we were quite the team. I was too. It's one of the things that kept me going. Longer than I probably should have. But one day, I was just done. No particular reason. It had been building for a long time. See, I tried to convince Lillian to leave it behind, come with me. She shot me down. Hard. Hurt my pride. More than a little. She was probably right. The Freestar Rangers. You did their dirty work and then some. So how'd you feel wearing the badge? The reality of the job is dirtier than cops and robbers on the playground. Me, I never cared much for being a ranger. Too many of them try to force the world to be only black and white when it's anything but. Take Ron Hope. I mean, the guy's a legend. Before him, Polvo was a desperate, depressing place. Everything he did was to keep his people employed, to keep Hope Tech standing in the backstabbing world of megacorp politics.
Yep, ever since I was a kid. I've always known I wanted to do a job that made the space lane safer, and becoming a Freestar Ranger seemed like a natural fit. You're gonna make me blush, Deputy. Thanks for saying that. I'm not perfect, though. I've made some mistakes that have gotten people hurt. But I've always tried to do right by the Freestar Collective.
A pleasure to see you again. I don't suppose this time you're here to buy property.
People may say...
Nice to meet you. I'm Mr. Tate, and you have the look of a newcomer. Welcome to Akila City. I don't suppose you're in the market for real estate. If so, then look no further. Oh, where are my manners? Very sorry. I hope my insensitive assumptions don't turn you away from considering my properties. I have 2 properties for sale. This one here is a refurbished colonial manor in the heart of the core. I also have a more modest 1-bedroom in Midtown. Any interest in them?
That must make you my Vanguard captain. Welcome to Interstellar Affairs. I'm Deputy Chief Diplomat McIntyre, Chief Yassine's second-in-command. I heard you were instrumental in protecting the city from the attack. You have my gratitude. I was also informed that you gave quite the presentation to the cabinet. Chief Yassine wants you to know the Interstellar Affairs Office is fully committed to this endeavor, accessing the Terramorph data and beyond. We're going to do everything in our power to make sure you have the tools you need. And that means first getting you into the archives. You do know what the archives are, correct? Last I checked, it takes 2 parties to fight a war. But, since you're such an expert, I'm sure you also know it's supposed to be managed by the 3 major galactic players. Access to the archives is only granted in cases of dire emergency, and requires a one-time use code from each of the 3 armistice signatories. UC, Freestar Collective, and House Varun.
I'm sorry. Do you have an appointment? Ah, so you're the one they called about. Failed to mention you were collective-born. You have my thanks for what you did down there, truly. Saved many lives. Now, she also mentioned that, and maybe it was just a bad connection, that now the UC wants Terramorph data from the Armistice archives, some of the most highly guarded information in the galaxy, in order to protect us all. I can only presume you're here to tell me I misheard her and that they didn't send you, local hero, to futilely beg on their behalf. Tell me I've got that right. You're really gonna push this? All right, I will give you one chance, one, to convince me. Understood. I'm listening. In the end, we all just want to be safe in our little fiefdoms, don't we?
That's where I recognize that insignia. Red Devils. Yeah, Ahab's definitely your bot. So, sounds like you've got two options. You can wander around out there, hunting your bot, little old white whale of your very own. Maybe you find him, maybe you get yourself killed. But knowing this rock is part of what we do here, so if you want to find him a whole lot faster, I'll sell you what I know about this. Kaiser's location. Going rate's a little steep, but I'm willing to negotiate. You and everybody else here. But, fine. I'll give you the neighborly discount.
I'll tell you why. Because the UC was, and is, full of people unwilling to pay the price required for victory. In the last days of the war, the UC was on the precipice of executing a final great assault on the Freestar Collective home system of Cheyenne. A massive strike, capable of obliterating Freestar Central Command and ending the conflict at long last. And I wouldn't underestimate the UC's capability for coordinated action. But just before we could launch the strike, word came from Londinian. The Terramorph outbreak had begun. I went to the city to assess the state of things, and discovered the Lazarus plan. We couldn't spare ships for a proper quarantine, so it was my decision to destroy the spaceport and seal off the city. Deal with it quickly, so we could get back to winning the war.
And I'm a businessman, which means I know when to walk away from a deal. You want to know why? It's because I don't negotiate with pirates. They don't understand commitments or contracts, how to get the deal done with finesse. No. For your kind, it's only brute force and violence. Shoot first, take whatever you want, and ask questions later. That's not how I do business. Yes, I suppose I have become somewhat of a legend in the Freestar Collective. Look, I'm not here to debate. I'm here to make an offer. All you have to do is tell me who's profiting from the virus you've uploaded. In return, I'll let you leave the city alive.
Well, now that depends. You support the UC? Consider yourself a patriot? Well, then no. There ain't no work around here.
Is it quieter in the lodge, or is it just me? Maybe. You know, there's an old Akila story about two pioneers who got lost trying to find a new frontier to settle. One of them takes ill. Clear he's not gonna make it, he turns to his partner and says, "Don't bury me. Let the ground take what it's due. I'd rather be a ghost chasing after you than walk through the pearly gates knowing an eternity of loneliness until you get there." Sad story, huh? There isn't? You travel around so much it gets hard to remember what goes where. Suffice to say, it's a story somewhere, and it seems appropriate. Anyway, you look after yourself.
Good to meet you, friend. Name's Elias Cartwright. I'm the mayor of Akila City. Now, I've got a memory for faces, and I can't say I've seen yours around here before. I make it a point to introduce myself to everyone who passes through our fine city. As the founder himself once said, there's no substitute for a warm welcome and a friendly smile. Ah, that'd be Solomon Coe, who stuck a shovel in the ground right here over 160 years ago. That first settlement grew to become the city you see today. And let me tell you, it was no small hardship to make that dream a reality. Yes, indeed, this place has a proud and noble history. Why, for some of us, it's practically hallowed ground. That's why I like to meet each and every person who comes here, to make sure they know what a special place our city is. You're more than welcome. As I'm sure you know, us folk in the Freestar Collective put great stock in human kindness and generosity of spirit. I like to think that's what sets us apart from our neighbors in the United Colonies. We don't rely on machines or bureaucracy. We rely on each other. I won't pry about what brought you here. That's all of your business and none of mine. However, I'd be more than happy to give you the scoop about the core and Midtown. What? Don't tell me you've been sold on the United Colonies propaganda. Over there, you live under the boot. But on Akila City and the rest of the Collective, you make your own destiny. Just look at yourself and what you've accomplished. The Freestar Collective isn't like List, that sets you up and leaves you to dry. We're independent-minded people that look out for each other and our society. Don't turn away from your home, from your roots. But, well, if you've got a change of heart, then so be it. You've made the right decision. Next time, I hope we can talk of happier things.
All right, we're in. Let's see what the galaxy throws at us next.